Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Social Media and Local Search, episode 104. Each week we meet here to discuss what's new in local search and social media. Topics of interest are posted on the Social Media Fridays community on Google+. You're welcome to post your own. You can also join us here on the panel. And on the panel tonight, we have Edwin Jonk, CEO of iDustHost in the Netherlands. Edwin is an on-page SEO specialist. And Edwin is CEO of iDustHost in the Netherlands. You can find him at idesthost.nl. And in the UK, Masataki Wasa, Mayor of Wimbledon, he is webmaster of wasaweb.net, wasaweb.net. He's also a Google AdSense community. And Tim Capper. Tim Capper is CEO of at website onlineownership.com. He's also a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. All right, our first question, or our first topic tonight, is one from Tim's neck of the woods. It's on hotel. It's titled "Hotel Review Summary Star Ratings Are Granular at Best."
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty long. What this is in hotels knowledge panels, business knowledge panels. Google is extracting where they can understand the reviews. They're extracting separate review summaries for rooms or service or location, depending on what they can understand from the reviews. Point being here is they're being way too granular, and especially in this one that I posted, they, which is actually on a Brazilian hotel, and I don't know if it's just perhaps a local thing, but people don't tend to mention rooms itself. They tend to mention bed or accommodation or, you know, a variety of different things. Now, basically what happened here was Google extracted the two which happened to be negative reviews that included the word rooms. So this business which had 37 odd reviews, 2 not being great, and the rest, the majority, are all between 4 and 5. Now was giving them a review summary for their rooms as 1 star. So it's like, you know, it's just it's being far too granular in it. You know, if somebody's talking about I had a wonderful stay, they must have stayed in a room. So, you know, the thing here is that Hummingbird and RankBrain is, you know, is certainly and clearly not working within this kind of review summary extraction. It's purely keyword focused. Is pretty diabolical. And the other part of this was also the review bot. You know, I don't even know if this this actually exists now. I'm starting to question its existence. Some of the reviews that I found on, like, for example, the Ritz Hotel, it was funny, the review, which has been removed now, but it was almost like a stag do kind of mini drama review. It shouldn't have ever been passed. The review bot should have flagged it. It mentioned drugs, it mentioned sex, it mentioned all sorts it just should not have even appeared on there, and it was there, when it's been on there for a while. So clearly, ReviewBot's not working, if it even exists. And then to back this up, there was even the reviews that I found on the Cincinnati Zoo, which, with even mass removals over the last week, there are still now more reviews than when I actually even reported it. So it's even gaining reviews when Google, in theory, is actually checking it specifically for negative reviews. So God knows what's going on.
And in the comments, Mike Bloomingdale makes a great comment that those review summaries are provided by TrustYou, which is a third company, just like for the weather, Google is using AccuWeather. For these review summaries, they use a third party called TrustYou.
Same again, and it works in the same way. It's looking at them too granularly. Everyone's frozen. Am I frozen?
No, you're not frozen, Tim.
All right. Yeah, it's far too granular, and unfortunately, the TrustYou reviews weren't displaying for this particular hotel. So I believe that Google's own kind of local algo extracted those. And also for the Ritz that I posted, TrustYou doesn't exist, or the Ritz is not on there. So I think in some instances it will extract it from where it can find it, but in this case this was Google's own doing.
Okay, that's excellent, Tim. Thank you for that. All right, let's call that a wrap on that one, unless anybody else has something to add. This is Google about to introduce ads into Google Maps. Google Maps local search ads. What's the lowdown there, guys? Is nothing sacred? You'd think that Google Maps really doesn't need ads, but I suppose it's mobile, smartphones using local search that's getting all the attention these days. But there's
it's not only on mobile; it's also on desktop.
They're only making 70 billion a year. You've got to feel sorry for them, I guess.
Yeah, well, they have to make money, right?
All right, this is a wrap, is it?
Well, we can't discuss what is changed. What the new ads will be. Well, basically there will be an ad on top of the search in Google Maps with a purple label.
Yeah, you're only going to get one in the top, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's better than organic, that's for certain. And then the offshoot from this, which is only being tested at the minute, the ads are going to roll out. The offshoot to this that they're going to test, which is going to be pretty cool if you're using AdWords as a local business, is promoted pins or branded pins. and the ability to add offers, etc. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. But then again, you've still got to pay for this. So what the ability will be is you will be able to kind of add your, let's say, your logo, and that will appear actually on the maps. Instead of their little pointers or the little pin markers, you'd actually have your logo appearing. And if someone was hovering over that or near it or clicking onto that in maps, your logo, then it would obviously provide your business info as usual, but it would also provide sections in that local part, in your business info. It will also show people if you have any offers, particular offers running. If you know special offers, you can display coupons like £2 off. And the additional theory behind this is also, for example, if I was searching in a particular area, or I was in a particular area, and I've just come out of the dentist, and I've searched for coffee shop, it will also display to me if any particular coffee shops in the area I have any offers on, like like a meal deal, or get a free coffee today, or 70 cents for a coffee today, and it will, because it will work out where I am locally. It'll work out what I particularly searched for, and then it will display to me the offers in that local area, which I think is going to be pretty cool. But on the flip side is you've still got to be using AdWords for this.
And those pins will be purple, right? The purple things will be the ads.
The little purple ad is the ad, but now these are going to be called promoted pins.
And they are also purple, right?
Well, because this is not live, and in the release that Google gave out, there actually is the actual logo.
Oh, okay.
So it would really stand out. And of course, you can have offers and things all in your business info. The cool bit about that is, of course, if somebody's in that particular area where Google has detected that via your mobile, and you search for a coffee shop or a restaurant, it will then even highlight additional offers that are going on in the area from other restaurants or coffee shops or whatever. So, but flip side is you have to be paying for this, to AdWords. This hasn't rolled out. We're still trying to figure it all out.
And just to show you how large local is, let me sum up a list. Around 90% of all global sales will happen in stores as opposed to online. Nearly a third of the mobile searches are related to location. Location-related searches have been growing 50% faster than mobile searches overall in the past year. Over 1 billion people now use Maps. Google searches on google.com, and Maps guides consumers to 1.5 billion destinations every year. 84% of the consumers conduct local searches. 3 out of every 4 people who search for something nearby using their smartphone end up visiting a store within a day, and 28% of those searches result in a purchase. So that's quite some stats that are impressive.
Local is there's been this like a massive understanding, I would say, of search. People, if you want to do, obviously they'll, depending on what you want to buy, okay, look, Amazon will be shipped from anywhere, or my big local online retailer. But there's a massive shift now towards local, towards seeing where can I see that product actually near me, and when we say local, I mean, I'm not, people don't mind an hour's drive because they want to see that bed, or they want to see that telly that they saw, or that, the kitchen unit that they might want to buy, or, and people are shifting local wise, and even for online only, the thing is they're supplying local click and collects now, local where you can view these things or collect them locally. Local is just growing massively.
Yep. I just invited William Rock to join us because it's his birthday.
And you want to sing for him, Jim?
No, I'm not going to sing for anybody. I mean, look, you guys just don't deserve that.
Now we can sing, can't we, because of the copyright ruling?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's owned by Disney, isn't it?
Oh, true. Well, that's why I can't sing.
Well, do they also own the Dutch version?
Not sure.
Neither.
Right. This last topic that we have to discuss is on a great article which appeared in Vanity Fair. It was a marathon read, but I think it was worth the time. Tim Capper agreed. And it was a revelation to me, because I wasn't ever a fan of Facebook. I had a Facebook account and rarely visited. And I was just so taken with Google Plus when it started, and mainly because I looked at Google Plus as a follower on of Google Wave. Google Wave was such a wonderful, enlightening platform, and I was shocked when they dropped it, but so impressed with the Google Plus when it followed, and it was mainly encouraging text-based submissions, and people were falling over themselves to share content. And then the emphasis was then moved to photos, and the post editor used to break every time you tried to put too much text into it. And so that's a great disappointment to me, because that article gave me the insight that Google was just setting out to take on Facebook. They were just setting out to copy Facebook. Apparently, certainly that they lost that battle. But I mean, if that's all that they were doing, well, that's a huge disappointment to me, because Google, surely there are enough people in Google that aren't snorting cocaine that would be able to think up something a little bit different to Facebook, which really is a mediocre platform at best. Anyway, but I mean, I like Facebook now that I'm back there. I mean, Tim Capper's there. Who wouldn't like it? Anyway, guys, your comments on this article?
That Facebook is, it's I don't know. I hate it. I dislike it intensely. For me, this article was really, really good. And you know, what put the whole thing into perspective for me was when he was said that he was driving into work. I think it was either Saturday or the Sunday. Anyway, it was the weekend. He was driving in and he went past the Google campus. Car park was empty, and went to, obviously on his way, and then he obviously went to Facebook, and he literally could not find a parking space because of the two things. Google launches this product in direct competition with Facebook, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Facebook had some competition launched against them, and they were like, right, how are we going to deal with this? And literally there's no days off until we know we are okay. You know, I mean, it was such a stark contrast. Of course, this also makes complete sense with the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of articles about Google Plus is dead. I mean, it makes complete sense now. I mean, Facebook went into overdrive, into marketing overdrive and reputation overdrive to keep, you know, to keep defection to a minimum and to keep people on site. You know, the article goes on to admit that the Google Photos was far superior and still is, but you know, it just goes to show there was just lacking on Google's part, which was really shocking for me. I love Google Plus. That's where I get my news and information, my industry news, what's going on. Facebook is more like, I've got to be there. And literally, I mean, even today when I went through, what do you call it, a timeline or whatever, when people, or whatever it is, when other people post that you're friends with. I mean, I'm like, what is this? Fucking cat, fucking this, that. What's this? What's this? What's this? Like, whatever. If I want the news, I go to Google Plus. If I want to know what's going on, I stay in Google Plus. But it's just such a shocking contrast in the sense that there was someone who recognized that this is a competition, that this is a competitor, and we will pull out every single stop to make sure that we survive. And there's the one who's so big they thought, you know, it's a walk in the park kind of thing. We'll just launch something and it'll be a success. You know, putting it in, you know, without pushing it or going that extra mile. A brilliant article, brilliant article. And the shocking bit was from a glossy mag. Yeah, amazing.
I think that, in a sense, that Facebook understood it was, in a sense, life or death situation because if they were to lose ground on their own turf, you know, it's the end for them. Whereas I think Google had been half-hearted at most in promoting this idea of Google Plus as, I don't know, the social layer, the bind, whatnot. And I think it collapsed under its own weight, Google Plus. That sort of whole huge mega structure plans. Those plans, I think, came unstuck because it just couldn't support the weight that was put on them. And in a sense that even if Google didn't do well with Google Plus, it wasn't really going to threaten its business model as such. And I think that's reflected in what Tim said, in that for Facebook it was really a matter of life and death. For Google it was, I wonder what it was. It feels a bit like an experiment. Let's see what happens if we do this. And then they never followed it through with the plan. And they can afford to abandon the plan. I think that's the difference.
And maybe it was also a strategy against newcomers, right? They can now show like we can take on Google. So if you come as a young startup, don't try to make it in the social media space because we have it. You will fail, right?
Yeah. So I suppose then any competitor will have to bring something out that is different from Facebook, even though it may fulfill the same role as Facebook, if that makes sense. So
but surely Google Plus, sorry to interrupt, Masataki, and please go on after I just interject here, but surely Google Plus had something which was different from Facebook, something that was uniquely different. It had the credibility of the circles of users under their own name, publishing profiles and establishing an identity, something which really wasn't seen on the web before now. And those established identities publishing content in long form on Google Plus. They actually had that from the first draft, and they bastardized it. They threw it away, and they need a kick in the bum for that. If they've stuffed this up through slavishly trying to copy Facebook when they were already streets ahead of Facebook, they just need a belting for not realizing what they had in their grasp.
I think one of the issues with that is that there is a conflict, if you like, between the ideal user and the actual user, if that makes sense. In that creation of content and the established identity, long form, etc., those are going to be always, I think, a minority pursuit. And if you're going to compete, then you really have to gain users and momentum. And for that, you have to provide what the users want. And that might be cat pictures. And what people had for breakfast.
Yeah, high quality cat pictures, right?
Yeah. So I think the problem with Google Plus was that it was riddled with these kinds of contradictions. And then, if you like, Google wasn't ruthless enough to pursue it. If they had believed in the vision that, as it was set out at the beginning, and said, okay, even if we lose X% of our users, even if we're going to lose X% of our users, we're going to pursue this till the end. If they had that kind of determination, I think the course would have been slightly different.
Yeah, and what Facebook also did in that particular time phrase was adding mobile ads, which are quite successful for Facebook. So on the one hand, they improved the quality of their product or platform, and on the other hand, they made more money by generating more revenue through mobile ads. So that was well played.
Yeah, and that sort of takes. So they're taking the battle to Google in that sense, because if you look at it, Google has Android. It controls quite a lot of the phones in that respect, the market in that respect. What Facebook managed to do was essentially pulling the rug as it were.
And
And then
I think Facebook doesn't mind if you don't have if you don't have the Facebook app on your phone, as long as you have a Facebook app on your phone, like WhatsApp, Instagram. What else do they have?
Messenger.
Messenger. Was it Vine or Periscope? Which one did they bought?
Periscope, because Vine's Twitter, isn't it?
I think Vine and Periscope are Twitter, aren't they?
Oh, they are Twitter. Well, they did bought a short. Was it Meerkat then? I don't know. I can't remember. But if you if you look on the Google Play Store, they have so many apps. They don't care what, as long as you are using a Facebook property, then they are happy, right?
Yeah, and you can argue that Google is now trying to do the same. They're setting up different individual products, whether it's Allo or Duo. In a sense, those are individual blocks, not the whole connected, bound, single entity.
I'd like to get that Bradley Horowitz and slap him. Does he not realise what he's letting slip through his fingers? Yeah. Is he asleep?
I think.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Masataki.
I think I suspect there's a huge amount of mess. Because the process of integration, remember the YouTube comments and things like that, that was complicated and horrible enough. The divorce process has been equally complex, cumbersome, and horribly intertwined. So, I think
the engineers weren't really motivated, right? The people from Google Hangouts, they weren't really motivated to work or to make it compatible with Google Plus or vice versa, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, you can say it's always a problem with a big project, and the big of combining different products into a single thing, where each component has had a varied and long history. YouTube has had a long history, for example, and trying to seamlessly integrate that into Google Plus, I think would have been a horribly complex task. And if you have this kind of system, then something can stop other projects from progressing, because then they have to make sure that it's compatible and operable and so on and so forth. It makes, I think, project management horribly difficult. So yeah, I think in the end, Google Plus, as I've said, collapsed under its own weight. It was trying to do too much.
Yeah, but like, I'm not talking about big shifts. Just little things that, you know, they're just stumbling over. I mean, like the new spaces. We were talking about that in the green room. That could be made into a useful forum to be aligned with a community or even a collection. A useful forum simply by adding a control panel and allowing the original creator of the space to control who has access to the just similarly to how they do it in communities where we have a set of moderators. In fact, they could make it so simple in that every community has a space for the moderators of that particular community. Then it would be something useful. Right now, it's really 3/8 of 4/4 of bugger all.
Yeah, I think that the pendulum has swung. It went towards integration. Let's make Google Plus that bind, that social layer, connects all Google entities under one identity and one focal place. I think that didn't succeed. So the pendulum is now swinging back the other way, of having independent columns trying to stand independent of each other. Each product has its own patch. So
yes, but if each product has its own patch, they really signed Google Plus's death warrant when they took all of the programming team away from Google Plus and put it in other areas.
I think in the end, more people, I think, would be using Photos than Google Plus. Photos is a good product, I think, as a storage place. It's not a great social product, but as a photo storage, it's great, combined with auto backup. Hangouts, I think, is a great product.
Yeah,
for those
true.
who don't necessarily have to use Google Plus. And I think the actual, I don't know about the actual number of users, but if you like, the potential users that Google could reach out to in Photos and Hangouts, they're probably larger than for Google Plus. So if you restrict access to these products by making Google Plus a precondition, prerequisite, then you're restricting the possibilities with these other products. For whatever reason, people decided not to opt for Google Plus. That's their choice. But then that shouldn't really stop them from using Photos or Hangouts. So in that sense, it's a big issue because Google Plus, in a sense, has an identity crisis. It's unclear what it is now. And obviously, it's going to be judged by what it's set out to be. That has definitively failed. So Google Plus needs to be transformed into something else. But it's always going to be judged against what it set out to be. And I think that's going to haunt the product for a very long time.
Happy birthday, William Rock.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, good afternoon.
So you're 42 today or 43?
42. Hey, I'm still not at that 43, 44 yet.
Uh-huh.
No rushing.
I didn't realize you were older than me.
I know. I've beaten you guys. You know, I still get the gray hairs once in a while already. So, anyhow, I came in a little late, so sorry for coming in late. But thanks for the invite.
Well, I wasn't going to send an invite because I thought you'd be celebrating. Then I thought, well, I will send one and we'll wish you happy birthday.
Well, either way, I'm here, and I love the topic that you guys were just. I see it on your screen, Jim.
Yeah.
Facebook versus Google Plus. So I'll have to go back in the replay and watch what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, well, put in a nutshell, we want to pick up Bradley Horowitz and bitch slap him, and tell him to get his ass into gear and fix, put Google Plus back the way it was.
Yeah, well, I use the old version. I don't know what you guys use, but when I go on that new version, it messes with everything I'm doing, especially when I'm moderating communities. So.
It's Humpty Dumpty. You can put it back.
Well, even it's gotten worse as far as moderation on your mobile device. I mean, I try to approve people or decline people as they come in, so I don't have a whole bunch of them waiting for me in the queue. But every time you click on a mobile app on the Android, it basically just goes away. And so now you still have to go onto your desktop and then log into that and approve. But it should be pretty seamless. Yeah, you're right. Go back to the original way, I think.
We approve everybody automatically on our community. We even let in Tim Kappa.
Yeah, he's trouble.
So, William, if you were going to realign Google Plus, what would you do?
Well, I'd start with going back to, I mean, there's some really cool things that they've added in the new Google Plus. So I would probably keep some of the images. I like how they've got to the left side as far as communities. But as far as being able to go quickly and scroll, because I look at the wall pretty often. I'm just going between work. But the new framework just doesn't fit for me as far as what I'm looking for. Again, going back to the moderation in communities, especially that now I'm going to be having a pretty popular area, which is the Google Local Guides community for Kansas City. I'm a moderator for that one now. So basically, there's people being added to that. But again, if I'm going to be moderating a big forum like that or a community like that, it's lacking still. So hopefully, you never know, they might be getting rid of the actual old interface, and that'll drive me up the bonkers. But I don't know. There's been a lot of great suggestions out there from so many other analysts, and I think everybody's gotten used to the new interface because they're all coming aboard on Google Plus. But the ones of us who had previous experience, I think they got rid of a lot of good areas. They're all combined into one, especially your pages. So the drop-down menu on your left, which is the pages, communities, people, all that, different. So I don't know what I would change, to be honest with you, Jim. I'd probably go back to the original and scrap the new one and take some pieces of the new one into use. But I'm just a Google geek that likes the whole platform. I think it's better than Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest. I enjoy this platform so much better.
Yeah, well, I mean, just little things would make a difference. They don't need to do all that much. I mean, hiring that idiot that started 4chan, I don't know what that was all about. He still doesn't even post on Google+. What's the good of having somebody there that doesn't even eat his own dog food? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But, I mean, just little things like, okay, they can allow people to have an anonymous profile. I mean, they could allow people to have an anonymous profile. All they have to do is say, you're welcome to have an anonymous profile if you want. It's just that we won't show it. We'll show it, 20% of the time instead of 100% of the time in the people that are following you, and that will sort the chaff from the wheat. And allow the coexistence of anonymous profiles with people with an established identity.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm reading somebody's article, I want to know who they are. I want to know what their credentials are, and that was the key to Google Plus. Why Google Plus was such a magnificent platform in the initial instances, because you knew who you were reading, you knew who you were listening to.
Great, I like that, and that's where the old interface comes in. That tab with the about is hidden on the new form, right?
Yeah,
so you can't see who they are. Sure.
Yeah.
Meher Bhagat. Meher is a social media queen from New Delhi in India. How the bloody hell are you? Well, we can see her, but we can't hear her. Just imagine how good life would be if those parameters applied to Tim Kappa.
Ah, poor Tim. Yeah, I think that's one of the big issues. Again, it points to confusion. The point that William raised about section. Because Google Plus was meant to be the identity platform for all of the Google products. It was going to be you on Google, whichever product, whichever service you were on. Now that's sort of gone. That idea, I think, is gone. They're trying, I think, to create something, but they haven't replaced it. So now we have lots of Google Plus profiles and pages, and we really can't know much about those people or those pages. So with the new one, if you do click on About now, I think, it's About, isn't it? On the profile picture, it does have a pop-up on desktop, and it does give you the About section. But in order to edit that or create that, you have to go to the old version of Google Plus and write there, because if you try to do the new one, then you transfer to aboutme.google.com, and then you can't add About section there. So we have huge problems there. In a sense, it's always, what would be the right word, badly managed in that respect, in that they're taking away functions without giving adequate replacement or giving a good explanation as to why that has happened to the normal user. Because people will notice disappearance, lack of functions more than new, exciting things. And I think that's been the issue throughout. So they decided, okay, we can't, we have to take this thing apart so that YouTube will have its own comment system. We're going to make sure that photos are going to be separate and Hangouts are going to be separate. Great, okay. So what are we going to do with the identity for these different products? And it looks as if they haven't really planned for that. They decided, okay, we're going to reverse course, and okay, we have to do this first, and then we'll think about this later. And that's a problem, because that means people don't know what's coming. People have no confidence as to what's going to happen. There's no predictability or stability. There's no future-proofing. If you're advising a business and say, look, I have no idea what's going to happen with this platform in 3 months' time, and that's probably the only honest thing you can say about many of the Google products, but particularly Google Plus locals side as well, then it's a problem. Whereas Facebook, it looks like what it has been for a very long time. There are differences, there are new things coming along, but in the main, it looks and importantly feels stable. And I always feel that Google underestimates that importance of stability and predictability, because that lends credibility to the product, because people are sure that it's going to be around in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, a year's time, in broadly the same fashion. And we can't say that. about Google Plus, and that's a problem.
It is, and especially with you mentioned the local. When I mentioned in the chat here, when Maps took away, Google My Business took away the fact that Google Pages, brand pages or local pages, when you actually have all the posts and everything else with your brand, now people can't get to that. They're like, well, how do you get to that anymore? So you have to really kind of go around different ways to get to the brand's information now, so other than just their telephone number and picture and reviews, right? I think that's another thing I'd probably bring back, Jim, if they could. I don't know why they've taken it away from the 3-pack.
Hmm.
Well, it kind of goes back to Jim, your idea of the person that's responsible for Google Plus and who's not posting on his Google Plus anymore. I've got background noise, but
he didn't ever. He hasn't ever posted.
See, that's bad. But I did not know that.
Unless he's posting anonymously, maybe. But what's the point of that?
Well, posting anonymous it's got its good and its bad, right? You can hide your information, but then at the same time, if you give a review and it's anonymous profile, you've got nothing going backwards to even trust as a person. You just get more reviews, which is great, or bad reviews. So either way.
Sure, and anonymity can be a good thing for a handful of people, but the majority of those are just spammers, right? And sometimes you have to say, well, use your real name, not because we want you to, but we have this huge problem, and sadly, you lose your anonymity because of that whole spam issue.
Yeah, and they've gotten a lot. I've seen, throughout the years. Remember when we used to get all that, comment spam and just a whole bunch of people posting and just nonsense. A lot of trolling at the same time. I've seen the.
Yeah, the trolling is also a real issue where people are hurting other people, and then and of course there are a couple of great examples of people posting really good content, raising big issues, and they do that anonymously. I don't think a platform like Facebook or Twitter should allow anonymity. If you want to, if you have a big, if you want to raise a big issue, go to the news publishers, so that the journalist can verify your identity. And if we allow anonymous users, then it will be a mess.
Yeah, I think for me the important thing is not what name a person uses, but that person uses the same account, so that you can follow that person and see what that person has written elsewhere. So that's useful for reviews. It doesn't really matter whether the name is real or not, but if someone has written 15 reviews on restaurants in a particular area, and they seem to be accurate and credible, then knowing that person's real name really doesn't matter that much. It's the question of making sure that people use a consistent identity, whatever that name may be. And you could argue that having a single identity, so Google Play, so what apps people use, or which restaurants they go to, or which pictures they post publicly is, and so forth. Those are important, that you have a single identity. And that role was played or was going to be played by Google Plus, but now that's gone too. So if you go to Maps and look at your contributions, people's contributions, you have no reference points. You can see what other reviews or photographs they have posted, but then you don't necessarily know what other things that person has posted using the same account, whether it's in Google Play or on Google Plus. So again, it seems to me that Google has gone one way and then went the other way too far, because to me it makes sense to have a single identity for that purpose, so that we can have a rounded understanding of that person, have a good understanding, good view of the person as a whole. Now we have disjointed views, so we might know someone from their Maps photos, but we don't know what exactly that person might be doing on YouTube. Okay, if someone wants to make those two things separate, that's fine. Create two accounts. Use one for YouTube, use one for Maps. But for someone who's happy to be using a single identity, even whether it's a real name or a fake name, then having this disjointed system doesn't make sense.
I agree with that. You know, I think that's where machine learning comes into play, right? You've got the opportunity for that machine to learn, just like you mentioned. You know, they went out and they posted on these 6 or 10 restaurants, and they were consistent with that name or that profile, even if it's anonymous. But they were putting good content out there, not like we would find the false positive where somebody put 8 or 10 reviews out there and they had an anonymous review, and it was just a bunch of this trash. You know, 1 stars. Hey, this was a bad experience. Well, why was it a bad experience? Type thing. So, yeah. Plus, with Google, you got everything. So once you log into your profile once, it's all throughout every property, which makes it nice to go back, like you said, on YouTube and go, hey, you know, like I saw you on YouTube, and now you've got a comment and communication string.
That's true. I still think that you have to give up something to get something back, right? If you want quality, if you want a good platform, you have to give up some form of anonymity. Otherwise, it will be overrun by trolls, spammers, and that's not a good thing. Or internet bullying, or really,
This goes on. Sure.
Yeah.
Bullying. We saw that all throughout December. November and December was really heavy with bullying and trolling, and that kind of went on in January and February.
And the authorities take it more serious these days, right? In comparing to 2 years ago, you were really on your own, and now more and more institutions are seeing the need to act on bullying, on internet bullying, on trolling. So that's also a good thing. But that does mean that you cannot be fully 100% anonym, right?
Correct. And if you go all the way back to even hiring somebody, you know, a lot of the people that are hiring a new employee are going to go out and look at your name, your real name, and figure out what kind of stuff's out there. You know, did this guy just go to a party and he just came to my interview?
Yeah, and I think the prospective employers might be suspicious of people who do not have any social media footprint, because almost everyone has some sort of social media profile nowadays. That I think prospective employers might be slightly curious and perhaps worried if they can't find anything about the candidate they're interviewing online, especially social media.
Good point. Yeah. Well, the other thing I was just thinking about is all the cell phone, like on Android, and it's been a while since I actually had to sign up for my own account because I actually have had mine since Google was burst that gave us an account. But when you sign up for like the Nexus phone, don't you sign up and create a Google profile with them, and so everything's still attached to your phone, so automatically you still have that same non-anonymous profile.
Yeah.
Track through local GPS. You know, where did you go? What store did you visit? Where did you travel to for maps?
Yeah. So we have a situation where Google has all that information, and by agreeing to the terms of service, we allow them to connect those dots. But as a user, we can't allow people to connect those dots, if that makes sense, because those dots are independent of each other. And Google Plus was meant to be that thing that connected all those dots, so that you were able to say who you were in your, if you like, in your own words, in all these different dots. But now we have a situation where the lines between those dots are broken. Each individual dot may or may not have a profile attached. And even if it has a profile of sorts, it's incomplete. And if you're the kind of person who wants to connect all of those dots and present it as such to the outside world, you can't do it.
Interesting, yeah, and when you also look at iOS, you know, because I think they sign you up for all their services at the same time too, music to their Apple Mac or Maps and stuff like that. So I think every company, same thing with the terms of service with Facebook. So once you've actually signed up with Facebook, for example, I think they've been actually working really hard to get rid of those anonymous profiles. I haven't seen a lot of those profiles out there that used to be, somebody's weird name you'd see like on a YouTube video. So, but I think a lot of people are resistant to actually have that profile and go towards anonymous because they don't want people prying into their personal life. Even though I share everything, not really my personal life, but it's all about my industry. It's kind of different purposes for different social people. I mean, look at LinkedIn. That's another thing is a must-have, especially if you want a job.
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn. Is that really a social media platform though?
It's turning out to be more. So it's more business social, and it is like, oh, here's a cute doggy type post out there. But you're starting to see a lot more CEOs, executives, kind of getting on board with that one versus like the Google Plus. From what I'm seeing, I've got all my clients are all on Google Plus first, but they also have LinkedIn profiles. They don't have Twitter accounts, they don't have Facebook accounts, but most of their business interactions is through LinkedIn.
Well, mine are all on Facebook, and I didn't force them.
But I mean, I've got people on Facebook, but when they start getting into too many social networks, then it's kind of like, why am I doing this? I'm spending more time than I'm actually working on my business, and so it kind of gets to the point where they stop doing that, and then that's where you kind of see, oh, well, I won't do anything on my LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. I don't have time. So if they can find a happy medium, yeah.
It's quite hard to get more than 3 social media, I think.
Yeah.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus. Also on Instagram, but I consider that more Facebook then separate one.
I mean, like LinkedIn, we cannot take it or consider it as a social media. Now, when we talk about Instagram here or Snapchat, I don't think we can even call them as a social media platform. They're more app-based. You cannot do much more with these types on, your PCs or laptops. You can only do it with your phone. So I would never consider Snapchat or Instagram as actually a social media. It's just a sharing app, picture or whatever. And I'm happy to be back.
Oh, that's a good point, though. I mean, I don't even have Instagram on my phone, but yet, I've got companies out there that use it because that's their business. But me, I'm pretty much the same thing. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus, but primarily my first is going to be Google Plus. Now, I don't really post a lot on my Facebook. I keep it fresh once in a while. That's about it. And I'm getting a ton of birthday messages on it, so that's kind of cool. But you're right. LinkedIn is probably not considered that social media either. I mean, it's more of like you would see at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. You're going into to network with other business owners or people in your industry.
It's more of a professional network only for business purposes. There's not much you can do with it. I mean, like people do share pictures and blah blah, a lot of things on it, but that's not the actual purpose of LinkedIn. I mean, like most people would actually block you if you keep sharing stupid stuff.
Yeah,
But
and it's a lot less forgiving. No, you're good.
On Facebook they want, on Twitter they want, but on LinkedIn they will actually block you if you keep posting stupid stuff around. LinkedIn has a very different purpose. It's basically connecting with people for business mind or for work. That's the only purpose LinkedIn actually exists. And job is a necessity, work is a necessity. That's pretty much the only reason LinkedIn is still active and it's doing good.
Yeah. Well, I think that another piece that comes to that is when people actually start sending you a whole bunch of invites or read this, read that, and it's like constantly coming to you in your mailbox, and you're like, well, who is this person? Do I really want to be connected with this person, or do I just ignore it because this person is somebody important that I need to actually connect?
With that statement, I do have to mention one thing. LinkedIn, from last 1 year, the changes that they have made isn't actually helping the system. Like for me, I was pretty much active earlier on LinkedIn. Now, if I look at LinkedIn, I get into my message. Honestly, I don't even open it anymore because initially what messages were like, if you post a message to someone, you can add a lot of people into it. You had the option to put them in BCC so that no one knows who's, getting these messages. But now if you send a message, add a lot of people, it's basically a group conversation. It turns automatically into group conversation, which is pretty annoying.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, it has changed, especially in the last year. With the way, like, for example, on sharing a post, if I was to want to go back and find that in my feed, it's almost a pain in the tail just to get to find that feed. It's already gone, and so I think usability is kind of lacking in certain areas of LinkedIn that can be improved upon. Yeah, I think I've had a LinkedIn account for so long, but I've got so many people that I followed way back beginning when I was still learning it. That it's like, wait a sec, how am I connected with this person? So, management and cleanup, I think, is kind of difficult too. Where's Tim these days?
Oh, he's probably on the phone. He usually puts up that photo when he's busy.
Yep.
He's sorting out all the spammers.
You'll find them.
All right, guys. Do we have any other items of general business for this week? Okay, yeah, we don't have any eyes watching us at the moment, but if you're watching this clip later, and many people do, we thank you for your interest. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again.